The show's called. The show's called. The show's called.
Dying laughing.
The show's called. The show's called. The show's called. The show's called.
Dying laughing.
The show's called. The show's called. The show's called. The show's called.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Dying Laughing.
I am Tim.
And he had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I'm O.
And he's got multiple myeloma, and it has been a minute.
I will have to agree with you, my friend. It's been a while.
It's been a busy holiday season for us, so happy whatever it is you celebrate. Thanks for listening.
Kwanzaa, Christmas.
Ramahana Kwanzmas. Combine it all together.
Dude, seriously. You stole my thunder. I was about to say the same thing.
We were both about to say Ramahana Kwanzmas.
Not me.
That would have been something.
Yeah, welcome to Dying Laughing, episode 5.
5.
Cinco.
High five.
High five. Cinco. That was an air high five.
Yes. How you been, O?
I've been making it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've been making it, man.
That's good.
You know, just trying to get past the holidays and, you know, have some food and good time with the family.
Yeah, man.
You know, that kind of stuff. How about you?
I've been well. I got I did get a job. I did
That's
not. I'm not working at Penn State. I know I hinted at that last time.
Did you?
I did. I gave a big old shout out and told them to hire me.
Oh, okay.
And somebody listened because they offered me a job, which was really, really cool. But I ended up actually taking a different position with another direction entirely that I just kind of landed in.
Just work.
Just working in a warehouse. I'm sales manager for a warehouse company in Pennsylvania. We really were leaning towards a Penn State job, but the thought of getting up and getting dressed and going to the hospital and talking all day about how I used to be sick and then asking you for money just seemed like that was going to grind on me.
Yeah, that sounds pretty.
Faster than I wanted it to.
That don't sound too cool.
No, and I want to be able to continue to give back to the cancer community and do this kind of stuff and hang out with you people and talk to Oya and be able to participate without feeling like I'm burnt out and sick of it.
I agree.
So now I work at a warehouse.
All right. Well, congratulations.
Thanks, so it's been a cool job. It really is a cool company, and I'm glad I'm there. But yeah, that's what really sucked most of our free time away.
Well,
Since
yours.
Mine, yeah. Yeah, he's not working with me.
No.
But my free time went poof, and it was gone.
Yeah, well, I've just been doing a lot of things with the kids and trying to self-examine myself.
Yeah.
Not like literally,
Right.
but yeah, just overall.
Okay.
I don't know, one of the apostles, who was locked up? John the whole time? Peter? I think it was John.
And Paul was locked up for a while. A bunch of them got thrown in
Well,
jail.
one of the apostles, and it said, examine thyself daily. So that's what I've been doing, listening to my body.
All right.
But overall, everything's cool, and we have a nice topic for you this episode.
We do. We're going to talk today about the caregivers.
The caregivers.
Yeah, the unsung heroes in our battles and our fights and our wrestling with this disease.
You know, caregivers don't get the credit that I'm not saying they don't get the credit they deserve, but
Not saying that either.
no, I'm just saying that from a standpoint, you physically might have the cancer, but they're in the huddle with you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they're with the band.
They're definitely with the band. They don't experience the disease portion of it,
Right.
but they definitely go through cancer with you.
For sure. For sure.
Actually, I think the I don't know. What's the definition of caregiver?
We looked that up. We looked at the definition of caregiver, and Wikipedia, the source of all knowledge in the world, that's never wrong in
Not
any
Facebook?
way at all. No, Wikipedia for sure.
Okay.
Facebook is where you go to get completely accurate political commentary.
Got you.
According to Wikipedia, a caregiver is an unpaid member of your social circle, assisting with daily activities, usually associated with old age, disability, disease, or mental health. So fighting cancer falls into at least the disability and disease portion of that definition.
Yeah, well, I think I can check off all those boxes.
You
I don't know
definitely
about
got
I
the
don't know about
mental
the
health part.
Yeah, the mental health disease. Yeah.
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 We're not old in that sense yet.
I don't know. Yeah.
You'll get there before I will.
Yeah.
You're older,
I'm older.
but we're not quite that old yet. But the caregivers are the people that are surrounding you to make this possible. Like if we didn't have the support systems that we did, dealing with this disease would have been impossible.
Virtually
Like,
impossible.
there's no way. I can't imagine a way. I can't fathom a way that you can successfully, get through a cancer diagnosis and chemo and all that stuff.
Without a caregiver.
Yeah, I don't know how you could possibly do it without some kind of help.
They have actual support groups just for caregivers because it's just a different dynamic.
It really is, and that's one of the things that I wanted to get to. Maybe not right away, but eventually, just the difference in how you experience your disease and how the caregiver experiences your disease, and some of the friction that gets in there is those two things not really reconciling.
Yeah.
And how sometimes, at least in my experience, like my expectation of how I was going to deal with my diagnosis, deal with my chemo, deal with all that stuff was vastly different than what Trish's expectations were.
Right.
Right. And neither of those expectations were wrong. It's not like we were dealing with it the wrong way.
Right.
But we just had different expectations and didn't really communicate that well to each other.
I'm not really sure what expectation I had because it was just all of it was so foreign to me, and I'm sure Carrie didn't have any clue, or maybe she did. Maybe she didn't discuss it with me, but I think you go in just saying we're gonna have to cross that bridge when we get there. So I knew for sure. For me, there was a lot of things that I assumed were going to be happening to me based on all the information that was given to me prior to.
Right.
This is going to happen. Or, this possibly could happen. This could happen, and this could happen. And so, like you said earlier, without a caregiver, whoever that may be, it's kind of difficult to deal with it. And the caregiving aspect doesn't start like once you come home. You know what I mean? It starts immediately.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like as soon as you get diagnosed, like
it's as soon as you get diagnosed, it starts happening then, and it's a very important. I think it's a very important aspect of it that we wanted to share our personal experience, but we wanted to give you an overall view of that. What caregivers,
what that all entails, and what really is involved in.
Mm-hmm.
Taking care of somebody that's sick. And I think before we get too far, first and foremost, a huge thank you to everybody that helped out when we were sick. Like all the people that were in that unpaid social circle, I said it right that time, that was able to help us out and step up and make things that much easier for us.
Well, to even take it a step further, it's just thank you to all the caregivers out there.
Not just the people that helped us out, but everyone that's helping out.
Obviously we're going to get a little bit more specific and identify with our story, but to all caregivers out there, this is a stupid duper shout out. That's kind of hip hop. Did I say that right? Stupid
No,
duper?
you didn't, but that's all right.
It's a stupid duper shout out.
Stupid duper? That's a thing?
I think so.
See, I'm not.
I'm giving a shout out
I'm
to.
not with it.
I'm giving a shout out to all the caregivers all across the globe, because it is a difficult thing to do. So
yeah, and a lot of times very thankless, and I think part of that is because we're so damn sick,
right?
That it's like there's just so much that we're dealing with that it's not intentional that we don't say thank you enough. It's not like, boy, I'm really mad at the way that this person is dropping everything to help me out. We're just so sick that it's hard to get out of our own heads.
I think there's a point where you might not take it for granted, but just assume, it's just happening, and you don't take the time out to be like, hey, let me recognize this person.
Yeah, so for sure, if you're sick now and you've got people that are helping you out, pause the tape,
Pause it.
and then find them and say, listen, you're doing a ton for me, and I appreciate it, and I'm sorry.
Did you say Liston?
There's a T in there, L-I-S-T-E-N, Liston.
Okay, got you.
So I'm sorry if I haven't been thankful enough. I'm sorry if I haven't been appreciative, or it seems like I haven't noticed. Even if you haven't noticed, say that you're sorry that you didn't notice.
Right.
Because it makes a world of difference just to get a little gratitude.
Yeah, because it's a sacrifice for them as well. Even though they love you and care for you, it's still a huge burden on their shoulders
Sure.
to take care of a person that possibly is in a situation where things might not go so well.
Right.
And then they're given the baton.
Right, you take care of this.
You take care of this, and here's all the stuff you need to do.
Yeah.
And it's not like you get any kind of formal training or anything, or you get
Very little. You get some pamphlets
it's not
and
90
handouts.
days probationary period. It's
Right.
like, here's this stuff, and you need to like hit the ground running.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it for me it was it was definitely a different experience. Am I jumping into?
No,
early?
go for it, man. Dive in.
So for me, I had no idea what was going on. Carrie didn't have any idea what was going on. We understood what needed to be done.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of preparation, a lot of talking prior to until the actual time of getting the treatments.
Right.
So it starts with for my particular cancer, it started with outpatient treatment, taking chemo pills and shots and that kind of situation. So that was happening. I was taking shots once a week, chemo pills every day, doctor's appointments all the time, trying to get the cancer under control to even receive, which was going to be my stem cell transplant. So once I did achieve that, we went to the hospital, we went to Hershey, and we stayed at the Hope Lodge. Definitely like to give the Hope Lodge a lot of props. And I think they were based under the American Cancer Society, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know. You might be right. But yeah, either way,
Yeah.
they provide an amazing service. Like, we're lucky that we lived 25 minutes from the hospital.
Yeah, we lived like an hour and 35 minutes from the hospital.
Long enough that a drive there and a drive back
On a
every
regular
day
would be torture.
would grind on you.
Yeah. So the Hope Lodge was a very good facility, and I thank them for all their help. And we were able to stay there.
Now, they don't charge anything, right? Like, that's
They
just,
don't. Nope, they don't. It's folks that are like listening and donation, people who've donated, generous people, businesses, things of that nature. It's all free.
for the patients and the caregivers, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. It's free for them.
So you can't just go on a vacation to the Hope Lodge.
Nah, it's not probably the
Hope
place.
I have a nice time. It's
Yeah,
not like that.
I don't think it's the kind of place you want to take a vacation.
Nah, it's probably pretty sad in there.
It's a lot of free chocolate, though.
Yeah, Hershey's full of that.
Yeah, but it's not probably a place you want to take vacation. And so, as I, think back on it, there was just countless hours, time, energy, mentally, that she gave of herself.
Right.
That she didn't have to.
Right.
It wasn't. She wasn't obligated. It was something that, she wanted to do.
Right. You guys weren't married. It's not like
Right.
you didn't stand before your friends and God and say, I'm going to be with you in sickness and health.
Exactly.
So Tricia was stuck. She had to. She didn't have a choice.
And there was, some times where I was like, I can't put that on you. And she's like, nah, this is what I'm doing. And that's a lot of love, man.
Yeah, it is.
So moving forward, not to try to get too emotional because I got to contain myself.
Nah, let it go.
But as I recall just the time and energy, going to the store, making sure I had things that I didn't maybe even think I needed.
Right.
bringing me food. It's just the really small things you don't really think about.
Right.
Funny story. When the hair started falling out in the hospital and all the weird places, it was a point where it was like, man, I'm not even going to be waiting for all that. I'm just going to cut my hair off.
Yeah, just take care of it.
I've never seen her so excited.
That's right, you're saying that.
Yeah, she's like, me.
She had a ball guy thing.
Yeah. And I'm like, do you know what you're doing with that? Like, I guess it didn't matter to her. She didn't need to have any kind of, training for that because it's all coming off.
Yeah.
She actually took a lot of enjoyment doing that. But in all seriousness, just watching her have to sleep on that very uncomfortable bench.
Yeah. The hospital bed isn't comfortable in and of itself.
No, it's not comfortable either.
The guest accommodations are horrendous.
Horrendous. I mean, the bed cost like $3,000-$4,000, but it wasn't built for comfort.
No.
It's built for technology.
Yeah. God, I hated that bed. Towards the end, oh my gosh. Mine was alarmed. So every time I moved, like if I moved too fast or got off the bed, God forbid I got off the bed, the nurses were in there like a SWAT team, and just there, like making sure I didn't fall or.
Yeah, well, mine wasn't an alarm, but if you thought the bed was uncomfortable after they spent $4,000 on it, you can imagine what that bench was.
Yeah.
It just wasn't comfortable at all. And, watching her sleep there, nights, different nights in and out.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking to myself, man, this is crazy. Like, I never once complained or said, hey, this sucks. You know what I'm saying? Just times where she just, helped me and we just cried.
Yeah.
Or maybe I cried.
Right.
And she, made sure
she cried a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not saying she didn't, but it wasn't always a crying duo. This wasn't a duet.
Right.
This was sometimes me doing a lot of the crying.
Yeah, and that's part of it too, like, because it comes in ebbs and flows. Like, one of the things that Trish and I did notice is that, the days that I was really in the dumps, she tended to be a little more hopeful. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then there's days where I was feeling pretty good and she was really, really down. And then there's a couple where they overlap. We're both on the way up and the way down and kind of met in the middle of just a general malaise. But for the most part, there wasn't a lot of times where we're both real low at the same time.
Yeah, I can't think of, I didn't know personally if she was low and I was low. Mm-hmm. But certainly, I want to point out the significance of the sacrifice. That word resonates with me a lot more now than it even did then. I understood it then, but she spent her whole vacation time,
where she could have been doing anything else
besides fooling with me,
hanging out with you in the hospital.
Yeah, something far greater than that.
Yeah, really. Even staying home would have been more fun.
Yeah. So, when you think about that, those kind of sacrifices, the ride up and down the highway, like I said, the uncomfortable sleeps, the watching somebody you care about, sick and you feel helpless.
Right.
And, so the caregiving thing for me, that experience was one that was a really extremely deep bonding thing. Because up until that point, we probably spent more time, quality time, in a hospital, in an unfortunate situation than we had done outside the hospital.
Worst date ever.
Right, which seems so weird.
Yeah.
But that was a huge component that came out of that. And when I think about it now, I can't repay her in any shape, form, or fashion for that, and love her for for that, and for a multitude of other different reasons. But I guess my point is something like you said, where she's not my wife. This is just this is I don't even know what you say, your lady, your girl, whatever you want to call it. However, people call it nowadays too. Grown people.
I don't know. Yeah.
Your partner.
Yeah, your friend.
What? No, she wasn't. She wasn't my friend, but
Right.
it was. But point being is that it's not something that she signed up for.
Yeah, for sure.
But she grabbed the reins and did it, and I can never, in my wildest dreams, repay her or could think of anything in my life that's been more that I have more gratitude and appreciation for, as far as somebody sacrificing something for me.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
absolutely.
So there was some funny stuff that went on during the course of it that I try to be funny, as you can see.
Right.
I don't know how I try to
try.
be. So that helped out a lot. But just watching her do all the things that she did for little old me, I just have to say thank you. I mean, and that's not even
That doesn't even scratch the surface.
That doesn't even scratch the surface for what it really means to me, and as far as personally in my heart. But yeah, I'll continue on. How did your situation go?
So, with me, I require more care and maintenance than you do. We have a high maintenance family, and as most of you know, I have 7 children. At the time that I was sick, all 7 of them were living at home. They all had to go to all their different things. Like, the world doesn't stop just because I'm sick.
Right.
Just because I can't participate doesn't mean it doesn't go on. So there's still school that needs to happen. There's still food that needs to get cooked. There's still sporting events people need to go to. There's still cars that need to get bought and driving lessons that have to happen, and like diapers that need to get changed. I think we're mostly out of diapers by the time I was sick, but like all that stuff still needs to happen. And before I was sick, Trish and I had a good separation of responsibilities. It wasn't like a clear cut, like this is the men's work and this is the women's work, but like we helped each other out. We're a partner in this. It's not a 50-50. Yeah, we're in this together. Like both of us are pulling the same direction. Then I got sick. And all that stuff still had to happen, but I just really couldn't do it. So I think I had like Trish was the main caregiver. And then my sister and my parents were like, I don't want to say second string because that doesn't do justice to what they were doing, but like those 4, Trisha, Allie, Mom and Dad, were the 4 like primary caregivers.
Yeah. Well, Carrie was definitely the primary, possibly maybe the secondary.
Right.
My daughter was probably the, third string.
Tertiary is what you're looking for there, yeah.
No, not trying to put that into some type
just a question of how much time and effort they had to put into things. And I'm sure that your daughter would have done more had she been able to do more, and did as much as she possibly could.
Right.
So with Trish, she was there 24/7. She went away. I think we sent her away once, like get out, go. You need a break, clearly. But because it's a lot, right? It's just a lot to get all those kids fed and watered and educated and shipped around. It takes a lot of doing.
Yeah.
And so we had, when we first got sick, before they started that first round of chemo, the docs like really prepped us for the worst.
Right.
Like I was expecting like vomit everywhere, sweating through everything, not being able to move. Like we were really like preparing to have sheets and blankets in the washing machine constantly.
Right.
So right before like I got chemo on November 1st, so I think on Halloween, my mom and Trish went out to the store and they bought something like a half a dozen sets of sheets and plastic covers for the bed and all new towels, like all this stuff, because they thought that I was going to either sweat it through it or puke on it immediately.
Right.
And none of that happened. So like we kind of prepped for the worst. We really like got our heels dug in and prepped for the worst. And now we just have lots of sheets.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad problem to have, but like
I have lots of sweatpants because she bought sweatpants and pajamas and sweatpants and
like all
slippers.
kinds of, I had slippers for sure.
And I've never owned a pair of slippers in my life.
Excuse me. I also still have this hack since I've been sick that just doesn't go away. So sorry about that.
You're
residuals.
not. Yeah, you're not
Residuals.
You're not in the dirt.
No, I'm not in the dirt. I'm breathing. Just it gurgles sometimes. So she was really the one that took care of everything. Like Trisha was kind of the quarterback of the whole team. Yeah, and Mom and Dad and Allie would alternate. They were very rarely all four there all at the same time. But like Allie would come out for one weekend, and she was pregnant at the time too. So like she had her own stuff going on. Yeah, and Mom and Dad would come out for a weekend, and then we would kind of settle down for a while, and then but Mom and Dad live in Jersey, so it's not like it's easy for them to get to. It's a 2.5 hour drive to my house from there. So,
Right.
But they try to get out for every chemo round, and then towards the end, I would go back to their house after chemo, just because I was such a jerk at home
Right.
that it was better if I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Like that's how rough I was. So we went to Mom and Dad's house where it was dark and quiet and cold. Turn the heat up, guys. I was cold, but we would like just do quiet stuff and watch stupid movies on TV, and Dad and I would drive around and take pictures of things and just like not do a whole lot, just enough to kind of keep me moving, but not falling apart. But like same thing. Like I can't even begin to express the gratitude that's there for enabling me to fight the disease, to just focus on being well and getting well.
Right.
And not have to worry about all that stuff. But I also, like we talked about in the second episode, like I feel terrible.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I know I do.
Like, I feel like there's a debt that I'll never be able to repay.
Exactly. I feel like I've robbed her of some kind of moment.
Right.
And I can't give it back to her.
Yeah, there's just time and effort and money and all this stuff that went into just making me get better. Like I feel like I'll never, ever, ever be able to repay it. And I don't think that they've got a spreadsheet of checks and balances and dets and all that stuff. Like I don't think they're ever going to ask.
Oh, Carrie keeps great spreadsheets.
Oh, she keeps a good spreadsheet? That's good.
I don't know. She ain't got none, but she keeps some really good spreadsheets.
But at the point, I don't think that they were keeping track. I don't think anyone's keeping score.
No.
They're like, we did this for Tim, so when I get sick, when I get old, you better come wipe my butt. Like, I don't
Right.
think that they were banking on it.
The crazy thing is my own family, and I'm sure they didn't mean any harm. I mean, they didn't even make it down there to see me, which is odd, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. Like I said, she's my best friend.
Yeah.
And, you talk about ride or die. I don't know if people's going to know that terminology.
I think they do. I mean, even I know that, and I'm...
you talk about a ride or die chick.
Right, she's it.
That's not about, shooting guns and
Right,
make
yeah.
sure you go out there and push those drugs.
Yeah, that's not what we're getting
Nah,
at.
that's not the ride or die I'm talking about. Like, my definition of ride or die that's the disclaimer of it. Ride or die is
Right.
That was the definition of that to me. It just was a lot of, but all the experiences weren't like, just doom and gloom.
Right.
We left. We watched. God knows we watched a ton of movies.
Yeah, yeah.
I got turned on to stuff because I'm not a TV watcher.
Mm-hmm.
But we got turned on to some series. Orange is the New Black.
Oh, man. I tried watching that for a while.
I
I watched 2 seasons, and then I just had to stop.
Oh, man, we watched every season. We watched it. I think we watched it till it was off.
Man.
We watched a bunch of different movies. Some movies we were like in the middle of it. Even in that 6
Yeah,
days,
there's
still,
joy.
You
There's
still
something
have
there
your
that's good, yeah.
personality. I wasn't comatose or anything
Right.
like that. So I might have been chemotose.
Chemotose, that's a different thing.
That's a whole different thing. But the point is that there was times watching a movie, be like, look at each other and be like, this movie stinks.
Let's turn this off.
Let's turn this off.
I don't know how much time I
Yeah.
got left. I'm not going to waste it watching a bad movie.
Yeah, and we, it was a situation where she, you try to create this oasis in there because that's where y'all gonna be.
Right.
So we were, I don't know if you remember your room, you couldn't turn the remote. You couldn't change you couldn't change the inputs.
Yeah,
Remember,
right.
you could change channels. So we had the laptop. We was Bogart the remote, and if she wants something, she goes and gets it. So she's like, "Oh, we gotta go get this remote." And I don't know about you. I don't know if I should share that. But,
Too late. Now you have to.
I guess I'm a different person, and she's a different person.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say, you're still alive. You're not.
I'm not dead yet.
You're not dead yet. So I'm curious to think for you, and I'm just gonna put it out there like this. I'm curious to think for you. Like, was there ever any moments where I use the word? Did you ever feel naughty inside the game? I mean,
What are you asking that I did?
No, I'm just.
Did we fool around in the hospital?
I'm not,
yeah. I mean, no.
I'm not saying that, but I mean, like, this is a real show. I'm saying
Yeah.
so. Like, did you ever? Once again, sometimes you're not as sick as you think you are. When it comes to maybe being a little naughty.
Uh-huh.
I'm just asking that. Just hypothetically.
Hypothetically, that wasn't sick.
Okay. I would probably say hypothetically.
Hypothetically speaking, without embarrassing my wife.
I'm not going to embarrass her
Yeah.
either. But I'm just saying hypothetically, I think there were certain moments where it didn't seem like it was that bad.
Right.
If I was going to go out,
Yeah.
I wanted to go out, with
On
a
high
bang.
note. Yeah, with a bang.
But anyway,
But I think part of that, the relationship side of things is tricky.
it's
Like,
super tricky.
I think there's just, and like I said in the beginning, like there's a lot of friction with Trish and I just in how we expected things to go.
Right.
And we never really talked about, how do you think this is going to be? How do I think this is going to be? I just remember myself being annoyed that she was trying to, and I don't think she was doing this, but I just remember feeling annoyed. I'm not trying to say this. I think I was misunderstanding what she was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And my misunderstanding was making me annoyed. That she was trying to kind of impose how she thought I should deal with my disease onto me.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And I don't
Yeah.
think she was actually doing that,
Right.
but I think I felt that way.
And that's the way she was dealing with it.
Right, and she was probably doing the same thing. I remember one time she was trying to tell me how to journal. Like we were going to chemo, and I'm not a journaler. I don't write things down.
Neither
I
am
don't
I.
do that. Like this is as close as we get to journaling for
Yeah.
me, right? But like,
I suck at it.
yeah, and yeah, it doesn't bother me. Like, so I wrote a lot of stuff on Facebook. Like I was very active on social media. I would explain what was going on. Like that was kind of how I
That's
got
how
that
you did
stuff
it, yeah.
out.
Right.
And then I've been working on a book, just about all that stuff. So that's kind of how I process things.
Doing a lot of plugging here.
I
Man.
know, right? Well, the book isn't ready yet, but I haven't touched it in months. But like to sit down and write stuff down in a journal, I didn't do that. But I remember we were driving to chemo once, and I was listening to Pearl Jam. And for some reason, I really wanted to hear that song. Was it Old Woman? Something I seem to recognize your face. Like it's this Pearl Jam song. It's this acoustic song from Pearl Jam.
I got you.
And it just was really, for some
you.
reason, it was resonating with me. It was talking about, I recognize you from a long time ago. I don't exactly know who you are. And I was feeling very nostalgic, all the people that I may never see again, all that stuff. For some reason, it was sitting with me. He's like, oh, you should journal about that. I was like, well, you just stop telling me what to do. And I really and I don't know if I said that, but I definitely thought I'm not going to journal. Stop telling me to journal. And I was annoyed. And then I felt bad that I was annoyed because she was just trying to be helpful.
Right.
But I think that's, and I don't think I'm alone with saying there tends to be some friction between the caregiver and the patient just in that realm because it's so hard to communicate pretty much anything besides the immediate, I think I'm going to puke. Or
Right.
I have to do this, or this has to get done. It's just all the day-to-day stuff gets so magnified, and then you throw all the sickness stuff on top of it. There's just not a lot of, I didn't have a lot of bandwidth left to try to communicate effectively something as what's the word I'm looking for? As high level, as not immediate as my feelings.
Yeah, I understand what our situation, and you're absolutely correct because I've heard that in the support group. listening to other caregivers and how sometimes it's challenging to, depending on the person that they're giving care to and what type of personality they have.
Yeah.
You know, my personality was more so trying to be kind of jokey with it and to mask the fear. And then, like I said, then there was times where the emotions rolled over and I'd cry. And she was very receptive and understood where all those different things were.
Yeah.
She certainly never said, hey, you better, she wasn't shoving food in my mouth.
Right.
But she certainly was like, you should journal, And then if something went wrong, that's when she got her rocks off. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, maybe that's because you didn't
do what I told you to do.
Right. Yeah, do what I told you to do. How about that? And so, I laugh it off, but she was right.
Yeah.
Which she says she's always is. So,
Yeah.
So that's probably not unusual.
Yeah. Trisha's definitely right more often than I am.
Yeah.
In fact, usually if she'll text me and say that, I was right, I'll screenshot that and hang on to it. Highlight it, send it back to her. See what you said? You said I was right.
Right. I mean, I rarely got an opportunity to be right. And when I was, that moment didn't last long because there was 4 more wrongs right after that where she was like, I'm right.
Yeah, it's a Pyrrhic victory, right? Like you won the battle, but you lost the war.
Exactly. But it's just everything a caregiver has to experience from a standpoint of when they're looking at the situation, they're looking at it from a perspective of understanding what the information they receive. You receive the same information at the same time. Doctors come in, normally they talk to you at the same time.
But the perspective is different, right? The caregiver hears this is what's happening to you.
Right.
And we hear it as this is what's happening to me.
Right. And
right?
so
And that's very different. We're all looking at the same ball of shit, but from 2 different sides of it.
And that's my point. So based on that, the caregiver's approach is going to be exactly what it is. Literally, they're going to be all in the caregiving mode. So they understand like, hey, you shouldn't be, you need to try and all those different things. And while you're experiencing different physical changes,
right,
where they mean well what they're saying, but you're nauseous or whatever the case may be.
No matter how well they mean, we may just not be in a position to receive it.
Right, exactly. But I didn't go through a whole lot. Like I said, I know it sounds weird, but just trying to be as transparent as I can. We became a lot closer. Once again, we weren't married for how long? You been married?
20 years.
Right. So we didn't have all that.
Right.
But we became a lot closer from an emotional attachment than ever before.
See, I would say that Tricia and I are much better now than we were before I got sick, even for years before I got sick.
Right.
Not being able to communicate effectively is not something that was new with my cancer.
Right.
Yeah, like we had kind of, those personality traits are not affected like that. Like that's just,
right.
And something that we had struggled with for some time, and just, owning a gym was a lot of fun, but it was also a lot of inconsistency, and she's not one that thrives well on inconsistency. She likes the same amount of money every other week on the same day of the week. Stability is good for her.
Yeah.
And so owning a small business is, for someone like me, is a blast. But for someone with Trisha's disposition, is terrifying.
Yeah.
She looks at it like a roller coaster without a belt.
Yeah, you are preaching to the choir.
Right? So it's tough, right? So that was a struggle. So we were already kind of in a weird spot before I got sick.
Right.
And then I got sick, and we really couldn't do a whole lot about it. Right.
Right.
But all those pre-existing conditions weren't made easier by now being thrown into this ridiculous caretaker role.
Yeah.
Caregiver role. But
not the caretaker.
Not caretaker. That's something else.
Because you're at the wrong end if we're at the caretaker portion of it.
But since then, and even in just recently, in the last 2-3 months, 3-4 months, I've really taken ownership of that. Like, I need to be better at being a husband. I need to be better at being her partner. She's done the same thing. Like, and we've been able to communicate much more effectively just in the last couple months after we were able to get through all this stuff. It took over a year to kind of get over the shock of all this stuff. I still think,
Right.
She had some PTSD.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and rightfully so.
Absolutely.
Like, rightfully so. And like, I'm so thankful now that we've been able to work through a lot of these issues and a lot of these the things that we struggled with before I got sick. We've been able to make some serious headway on, which has been amazing. And looking back, you could argue that, had I not been sick, we may never have been able to overcome those obstacles.
I hear you. My situation is, completely different.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I can say for sure is, far as any caregiver, I think the portion is we're going through things physically. It's for them. I believe it's very emotionally draining.
For sure, yeah.
Because they're not necessarily going through anything physical.
Right, but they're still exhausted.
But they're still exhausting a lot of energy, emotion, time, and all those different things, and it wears on them. I mean, she still had a job she still had to earn a living.
Right.
So she still, she it's not 8 kids, but she has dogs.
I don't have 8 kids.
Oh, 7 kids, sorry.
7.
I'm trying
Let's
to give
not
you
get
extra
carried
kids.
away.
Yeah, my fault.
I don't need any extra children.
Perdona me. But yeah, I mean, there's still caregivers still have their own responsibilities that's outside of you, the patient, or
Sure.
the get.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, the whole world doesn't revolve around you,
Right.
and it doesn't stop just because you can't participate.
But however, somehow they have to create that.
Right. They got to find the room, find the energy,
Right. They got to find the way
the
to
time.
create that scenario, and that's why I say it's something I can't repay. Outside of the leaving the hospital, these are just poor choice on my part. I had put our relationship in a bad place with my own actions when we had got so much closer as a couple in the hospital. And,
Mm-hmm.
and then to come out of that and not be in a place where we should be relationship-wise, based on my own doings, it's a really tough pill to swallow.
Right.
It's disheartening.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we got to apologize for our mistakes. And that time in the hospital was the greatest time of my life, even though it was a dark situation. And the overall thing that I understand about a caregiver is how much they give.
Yeah.
You feel me?
I do.
And they're giving with all their heart.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to do everything they can because they don't want to see this go wrong.
Yeah.
And they certainly don't want it to go wrong on their watch.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody wants that. And then I try to think to myself, could I do that? Like, could I flip that around?
Mm-hmm.
Could I do the same thing?
Right. And I'm terrified the answer is no.
I'm
right.
I'm not really. I'm not saying I'm incapable of it. I'm just saying, like, would it be the same level?
Mm-hmm. Would I do as good a job?
Would I do as good a job as she did?
Yeah.
I don't know, dog.
Yeah, I would try my best.
Oh, I'm not saying I wouldn't try.
Yeah. But
like I said, she's always right.
She's yeah.
I told you to bring me size 2, not 3.
So yeah, I think if the role were reversed, of course I would take care of her. But I have to believe that she did a much better job, if nothing else, than I deserved.
Man, that is well spoken there, brother. Well spoken. So, like I said, ultimately, we just wanted to make sure that caregivers got their just props. I'm saying all caregivers.
Right.
We're specifically, our story is about our particular or specific caregivers, but overall, caregivers all around the world, because it's an important component to dealing with anything, like you said, mental illness, anything that if you got a handicap, I'm sorry, that's probably not too politically
Yeah, we don't
correct.
say handicap anymore.
Disabled person.
I'm not even sure we should say that.
Well, I don't
I
know
don't know
what
what
else
the
to
politically
say.
correct term is, but yeah.
Yeah, disability.
If you got an issue.
That's probably a little harsh.
Oh, yeah, you're probably right.
But, we didn't want to make too light of it and,
Right.
and do a lot of joking because it is a serious job for the caregiver, especially when you're mixing a person's emotional attachment to you,
Right.
and then all
the other
the
exhausting
stuff
physical stuff that goes along with
on
being
with, like
sick.
you said, the world doesn't stop revolving because you have cancer and they decided to be your caregiver.
Right.
They have lives too. So just wanted to tell all the caregivers out there, stay strong. We love you. I appreciate everything Carrie did for me, and love her to death for it.
I appreciate everything Carrie did for you, too.
Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
And we'll talk to you guys later.
Heck yeah, you got any questions or comments, please shoot us an email at dyinglaughingpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, same thing, Dying Laughing Podcast. Caregivers, let us know what you think. Anything ring true for you? Anything that we missed? Anything you would rather we say differently? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, we sure would.
Have a great night, everybody.
All right.
Bye-bye.